To be the Hobo Robo or the Robot Overlords?
I will be the Hobo Robo.
And action.
I'm just going to go in this cupboard and make a sandwich.
Okay.
Ring.
We'll see. I'll see you later, Hobo Robo. Thanks for all your hard detective work. We really feel that we're building up the trust that was eroded from previous incidents.
That's great. See you soon. Ring, ring. Greetings, Overlords.
Hello.
I have new.
Hello, H-Robo. What news do you have for us?
The mission is successful thus far. 8 of the 50 moratoriums have been burned down.
Well, that is great news. And when will the other 43 be burned down?
I'm sending my pocket calculator, Dave, on 3 today, so we should get rid of another 3 today.
But that's going to take weeks. Can't you speed up? We've got my Uncle Bob's birthday in a week and a half. I thought we'd be finished by then.
No, I'm afraid not, but...
We're very displeased with your work, H-Robot.
But I've tried my hardest.
Your hardest is not good enough. You should switch your setting up to even harder tries.
I'll give that a go and see how we get on this week.
I expect all buildings to have been burned down by this time next week. Let us end this meeting with some maniacal laughter. Ha 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 ha. Maude, it's an MF Good cast. Season 3 supportive wife and mother. Get your ass baptized. Just learning to be more judgmental with a regular normal woman's voice. Well forgotten lady and woman, but not by us, the owners of this podcast. Thanks for the marriage and kids. Now husband, walk to your death. I am a mental wild card. Maude Flandereses Internet Podcast, episode 28 or 26, depending on how you counted it.
Fantastic. I feel like we're roughly a third of the way through our content, but I might be naive there. We may still be in the early days.
We may be. Are they early days or are they burly days? That's the question that we won't know until the end.
No.
Hello, Goodman Tinker Turnbull Morning and Todd's Mum's Clum. Don't consume some flesh, sister, soulmate. Brought to you by the Maude Casting Corporation, a division of Ross Dibney Multiplying Conger Eels. I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
We were recently bought out by the Ross Dibney Corporation, but who is Ron Dibney?
We're not 100% sure. We have some fact files, but from what we can tell, he was just a man from Florida.
Just an average man from Florida with $1 billion in his pocket. And
yes.
What were the eels? Did the eels predate the billions or post-date?
I think he already had them. I think that's maybe how he made the money.
So here's a couple of housekeeping rules. If you are listening to this podcast, we don't want you talking over it. We don't want you to listen to a bit of it. And we don't want you to do anything else that might take your attention away. So washing the dishes is acceptable with headphones. Maybe sweeping the floor, but not vacuuming. When I banned those people of the week, I brought the irony of Debbie 78 and the Hot Pants Hooligan who found me around the back of Danny Wong's Chinese Chippy Lady Love. And they had some rusty spanners and they gave me a good hiding.
That's not very good.
It's not, but you should see the other guy.
Debbie.
Debbie got off lightly with barely a scratch. I, however, am bruised and battered. But Josh at Finance Homicide has said as soon as he's finished repacking the shelves, he's going to get on to sorting out that case.
We can't have Debbie win.
Debbie 78 will never win. Debbie 76 was tough enough, but 78, he's going down. Here's some things. Sponsors, Margaret Lantryman, aka the Log Lady. I'll test my log with every branch of knowledge. Sponsor, the Cops in Action, Mossad and the Embroidered Uniform Guard. Sponsor, Bradley Walsh, and the Governess, the Beast, Second Best Chaser, Sean Wallace, Jenny the Vixen Ryan, Quiz Olympiad, 174th in the World Quiz Championship, aka the smartest person in Bolton. Sponsor, Chinese National Petroleum, caring for energy, caring for you. Sponsor, Creed Breton, aka William Charles Schneider. Sponsor, Pound Bakery, fresh is best. Sponsor, Nestle, good food, good water, pure life begins now. To inspire a healthier and brighter future that starts with pure quality water. Water, you want it? We've got it. H2O, H2 hours. Also, that stuff about us murdering pandas is not true. Also, anti-sponsor this week, Son of Sonny Bono has been working hard. I got this real email from YouTube, which I feel it doesn't seem real. I'm going to read it to you. Hold on a minute. YouTube copyright claim. Hi, Brendan O'Leary. A copyright owner using Contact Ideas claims some material in your video. As a result, your video has been blocked in some countries. Video title, Maudecast 24. Copyright content, I've Got You, Babe. Claimed by Son of Sonny Bono. Blocked countries, Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Syria.
Okay.
Just banned in the axis of evil then, by the looks of it.
Seems that way.
That's bizarre.
That is a bizarre selection of places for I've Got You, Babe to not be legal.
Exactly.
I did have the same issue on my last upload. It said it would not broadcast in some countries unless I muted the music at the end. So I did, but now I've realised that if it's only those 4 countries, then I think we'll be okay.
I got to say, the Syrian contingent, what with still dealing with the aftermaths of civil war, they're not really in the mood for podcast. But I'd like to think we were making that place a little bit happier, and I hope that the people of Syria find a way to use a VPN so they can still listen to the podcast. Here's a good quote from Jock Derrida. He came by with a new batch of handwritten quotes. He wrote them on lolly sticks, so I can pick them out randomly from a bag.
Cinema plus psychoanalysis equals the science of ghosts.
Did you say cinema?
No, I did. He did tell me I couldn't repeat, but I'm going to break his rule. Yes, I did say cinema.
Cinema.
A ghost, by definition, is someone who has died and returned to life, and that is what happens with TV. Someone can die, but you can still experience them alive daily if you wish to, much like Maude, who died in the year 2001 or 2000, I think 2001, but didn't get her own podcast for another 19 years, 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, if you just replace the word cinema with television, we've essentially got the premise of our entire podcast. It's almost as if I set this up 28 episodes ago to eventually reveal our diabolical plan. Cinema plus psychoanalysis equals the science of ghosts. Poof, Jock's got our number.
He knows what we're about now.
Yes. What is the science of ghosts?
I don't think there is a science of ghosts. The science of ghosts is cinema plus psychoanalysis.
Doesn't the science of ghosts minus psychoanalysis equal cinema then?
You'd think so. Is it like speed and distance and time?
It's basic algebra. Therefore, we're going to do a little bit of research on this. But for now, I rejigged the Mauditorium, moved things around a little bit. So, do you want to do a Mauditorium? Do you want to do a Maudio commentary? Or do you want to do one of the 8 new or 10 new too Maude for the Torium? Those are Mauditorian items that are too big. They will take too much time. They're probably 10 minutes.
Oh, I'm intrigued by that. I want to give that a go.
All right. The first one down here is the too Maude for the Torium. Number 1, brace yourself. To what extent are Maude and Helen Lovejoy interchangeable? Counseling, protesting, figure bags, voice actor. We've touched on this a little bit. Who is worse? Who's more mean-spirited? Who judges people more? Helen was once a man. Here's Helen's biography. You see if there's anything here that you couldn't switch straight out for Maude. Growing up in a little house on the prairie where the only pastimes a young woman had were baling hay and fixing the hay baling machine, she fought off boredom by keeping herself up to date on the personal affairs of her neighbours. When a dashing young man from Springfield named showed up at her door, she found herself entranced by his Protestant good looks and thrilling stories of the big city. By force of habit, she accidentally spread a rumour about herself, and they were forced to get married. In addition, attended a camp with when she was 10 years old. She was punished by having a fork stuck in her hand because she could not remember which out of the 34 forks was an olive fork. It is hinted that she was punished in this manner many times. She used to sell cosmetics, but her husband asked her to quit because she was making more money than he was.
It's mostly interchangeable. There's some parts. Like, Maude, to me, doesn't have a tendency to gossip. She doesn't particularly gain anything from gossiping, I don't think. I don't think so far we've seen her gossiping. We will at some point, but she's not really bothered with the follies of Springfield. Whereas Helen is way more interested in other people's lives.
To be honest, Maude does have a hole drilled in her bathroom wall so as to spy on people.
Yeah, but that could be to do with trust rather than gossip. Like, again, when Marge was going to prison, Maude wasn't really spreading the story around. She was pushing for it to happen, but she wasn't telling people, from what we know anyway. I think Helen's slightly more evil, in a sense. I think Helen's got a darker side. And Helen sort of revels, or like we see Helen reveling in bad things sometimes, whereas with Maude, it's always sort of, again, left up to us to speculate rather than, it's never really set in stone, whereas, Helen sometimes will clearly enjoy watching Marge struggle.
So Maude is happy to keep her judgments to herself, whereas Helen is a little bit more about spreading those things around.
Yeah, Helen's more of a wind-up merchant as well. Like, Helen will go over and tease Marge. The only thing I can think of now is the chili cook-off with the insanity pepper. Helen makes some kind of snide comment to Marge about Homer kind of ruining things for everybody the year before. I don't think Maude would. It would be more subtle if Maude did it. Helen just outright says things. She likes to watch people squirm, whereas we don't know that about Maude. We know that Maude revels in it in some sense, but Maude seems more, again, linked to death and mortality than trivial gossip or soap-style storylines, which Helen seems more into.
So had we done the Helen Lovejoy cast, we may have had more thrills, more gossip, more stuff to talk about. But those big existential questions are missing from Helen's activity.
Mm-hmm.
She's a more grounded character, whereas Maude is more cosmic.
Yeah, so the voices to me don't sound too similar. Like, you can sort of tell it's the same actress, but they aren't the same voice, I don't think. Like, Helen's got way more of a kind of like Karen voice, for lack of a better word. Karen Lovejoy.
More neutral, Northeast American.
Patronising and a bit rude, whereas Maude is very, I don't know, sort of well-spoken.
Well, this is an interesting point because growing up in a little house on the prairie with hay bale machines would suggest that Helen is a country girl, whereas we know that Maude is more suburban. Even though the Springfield Township was quite small, it's still essentially a suburb of Fargo. Yeah,
whereas we've sort of speculated that Maude had some kind of farm-related upbringing. But again, this might be what drew them to being friends, because they had similar pasts, except for the fact that, Helen was born a man, possibly.
If this was the Helen Lovejoy cast, we'd be digging further into that, but unless it becomes relevant, we will ask no more questions on that choice or necessity. But how about this part of the story? A dashing young man from Springfield named such a thing showed up at the door, and she was entranced by his Protestant good looks and thrilling stories of the big city.
Again, the first half I agree with, but I don't think Ned would have many big city stories, and I think Reverend Lovejoy, again, is slightly more... He's not Ned. He's not as kind or as nice. He's way more cynical and not as religious. So I think Ned and Maude have sort of a purer, sweeter relationship than Tim and Helen, but there's similarities there. But yeah, I don't think Ned would try and... That sounds to me like Reverend Lovejoy was trying to boast to Helen and show off with his big city stories, and I can't see Ned doing that. Or I also can't see it working on Maude.
Well, we haven't speculated too much about how they met or how Ned wooed young Maude. And how about this one? They attended a camp as a youngster. So Helen attended a camp with Marge Bouvier, age 10. But let's imagine this was Maude at the camp, punished by having a fork stuck in her hand many, many times. Do you think this kind of brutal, abusive upbringing is also suffered by Maude? Because we didn't see much of that. Maude seems to have a relatively gentle upbringing.
No, I think Maude had a better upbringing than this. And this, I remember this episode. It's not that late. It's like season 15 or something. But it is strange. It's in that period before Maude had a big comeback. It's Marge as like an 8 or 9-year-old, whatever, at this like summer camp. And pretty much all the Springfield women are there at that age, like age 10, like Helen and Luann and Cookie Kwan and Patty and Selma. Maude is not there. Maude is the only sort of, and none of them speak, because this is in the time that Maggie Roswell wasn't there. So Helen, Luann, they don't speak in this scene. So it always struck me as odd that they didn't include Maude. But obviously we know that she wouldn't have been there at age 10, and that's why she isn't there.
Exactly.
Because this happened in Springfield.
Whereversville, not Springfield Township up in North Dakota.
Yeah, the violent fork stuff happens. It's from like camp leaders, it's not from parenting. So maybe that only happened at the summer camp.
Still, not acceptable in whatever year that is or will be or was. And the last one, she used to sell cosmetics, but her husband asked her to quit because she was making more money than he was.
Again, I can see the cosmetics thing vaguely, because Maude obviously likes a little bit of makeup and looking good. And but I don't think Ned would care if she was making more money than him. Again, I don't think Reverend Lovejoy is way more of a flawed, insecure person than Ned. So I don't think Ned would really care that much.
Yes, Tim is more egotistical. Ned would just be happy of the income, I think.
Yeah.
And would you like to speculate as to whether Maude actually ever sold cosmetics or the like?
I don't think so, but I can see her having some kind of sales job for a small amount of time.
In a pharmacy, maybe a drugstore where there was still a connection to those cosmetics, but there's something in there about health and pharmacy in that past that we haven't uncovered yet.
Yes, I would agree.
So that was 2 Maude for the Torium. There's a few of them. They're a little bit bigger than we could handle in the average Mauditorium. So we'll drop in on those from time to time. And nice. Would you like to get into content?
Let's do it.
So give the good people a little bit of context for this content, if you don't mind.
Sure. We're roughly at the midpoint of season 7, and we've got another non-speaking appearance, but this is one of her bigger non-speaking appearances, and we see quite a lot of her, or, we can take quite a lot from what we see. And then there's also a clip from the next episode as a tease, and Maude is about to go bowling.
It is indeed, and it's a fun episode we got here. So before we start, the name of their bowling team is the Holy Rollers. Do you know much about that term?
No.
You know why they may have chosen it? Does it ever reveal?
No, it just sounds very rhythmic, like something Ned would say. So I just assumed it also sounds like a real phrase. Well,
it is a real phrase, generally a derogatory one. Essentially, it refers to, according to the Urban Dictionary, it refers to somebody who attends a charismatic church service, which places a great amount of importance on the Holy Spirit. The person tends to be a very devout Christian, and during church service becomes influenced by the Spirit and drops onto the floor and rolls around. Hence, the term was coined the Holy Roller. I went to that Pentecostal church down the road, and they're just a bunch of holy rollers.
Nice. That doesn't seem like the kind of church Ned and Maude would be into, so I imagine they don't know what it means.
Yeah, so maybe they heard the term and then they thought, yeah, we'll have that, because we're holy high rollers, because a high roller is like a rich person. A holy roller, a person that is heavily religious, listens to contemporary Christian music, and has a holier-than-thou attitude. Jeff is a holy roller because he thinks he's better than everyone else.
That's more apt. As we discussed, we do think that Maude might have that in her where she does think that she's somewhat better than people.
And as with everything on the Urban Dictionary, they get better as you scroll down the page. Holy roller, a devout Christian who oppresses others' beliefs under the condition that those beliefs are inconsistent with the oppressors. See also psychotic neo-fascist bitch. Gary's mum is a holy roller. Number
That seems
4.
like the best of 3.
Well, it gets better. Number 4, a holy roller is a joint rolled out of paper torn from the Christian Bible. Dude, this hotel has a free Bible. Feel like a holy roller?
That's possibly the least apt for our Maude.
Yeah. It's also apparently a kind of amplifier, which is all good news. So I'd like to sponsor the Urban Dictionary if we had any more room for sponsors, but I think we're all sponsored up for this episode. So, we've messed around a lot here, mostly me. Let's get into the content. Clip 1, at the bowling alley, we got Otto, Moe, Homer, and Apu looking at a big trophy. Burns is in there as well. I'm not sure why there's 5 of them, but maybe Otto's not part of the team. The Holy Rollers have won it 5 years in a row, they say. Cut to Maude, Ned, Helen, and Reverend Lovejoy under a heavenly glow. Ned's holding a bowling ball. Maude has a goofy duck face with her eyes raised to the heavens. A nice white bowling shirt, 50s style, with these pink reddish kind of stripes and a collar. They're looking down. Reverend Lovejoy is writing something. They think they're so high and mighty just because they never got caught driving without pants, says Moe. Cut to Ned bowling. Maude and Helen, with very good posture as always, are looking on. We get a pin's eye view. And my question was, what's Maude's bowling history?
Well, you get more of a sense of Maude's bowling history in the next one when you actually see her bowl. My notes for this one are, I get the impression she may have designed those shirts because of the pink. It fits most with how Maude looks out of the 4 of them, I think. Once again, we're back with... It is, it's a good... And also the T-shirts seem to be glowing, which is very weird. Like, radiating, like, angelic light. Moe, once again, Moe is here.
Moe and Homer, but neither of them seem to be leering over Maude at this point.
No, it's all business this week. Moe, if anything, actively dislikes them.
Yeah.
I was going to say, the Otto explanation is that these clips are sort of, although it looks like it's all one long scene, some of it's from like early and then some of it's from the end of the episode, and they swap out Otto for Mr. Burns, which brings sort of the problem because Mr. Burns is really bad at bowling.
He is very bad. There's something happens later that I'm not really I'm quite puzzled by why it's a big event, but it is.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just a way to introduce the Holy Rollers team. Do we know much more about the team? Do they appear intermittently, or is it just this episode?
I think it's just this episode, and they're one of a collection of about 6 or 7 sort of comedy teams that they go up against. Like, there's a team of like foreign accent characters, Bumblebee Man and possibly Willie. And I just remember Apu saying they begged me to join their team. They begged me. And like there's one called the Home Wreckers, I think, with Jacques and Mindy Simmons and a couple of people who got in the way of Homer and Marge's relationship, form a bowling team. So it is weird that they focused on... It's easier with the holy thing because you can play it like, oh, they're really good because of their faith in God giving them the ability to be good or something nonsensical like that. But yeah, the 4 of them are seen together. Around this time, this is when you establish that this is a group of 4 rather than Ned irritating Reverend Lovejoy and him avoiding him.
The Flandloves. Basically, we see the Flandloves coming into their own in the next few episodes.
Yes, particularly here. This is the most non-church related thing we've ever seen them do, I think.
So clip 2, we see Homer and the rest of the gang are getting ready to play, and 4 monks in full brown habits walk in, but it's clear these are the Holy Rollers because they're carrying bags that say Holy Rollers on them, and we can see Maude's protruding duck lips and bushy ginger hair popping out from under one of the hoods. They look up towards the light, and they are bathed in light, and they pull down their hoods to reveal they are, in fact, the Holy Rollers team. How does this even make sense? They were just bowling like a minute ago.
Yeah, again, this is later. This is after Burns has joined the team. So there's been I think that clip 1 was like 5 or 6 minutes into the episode, and then the rest of these clips are all like the last 5 or 10 minutes of the episode. So some stuff's happened in between. They basically, at this point, I think they've got up to the point where they're second place behind the Holy Rollers. So we've seen them beat down all the other teams, and this is sort of, again, they're making them look like sort of like a video game boss, how they would
Yes.
be introduced. And obviously they've got the possibly back to unreliable narration with the heavenly light shining down on them. That could be. Again, it feels like a missed opportunity for a joke about a flickering, like a light being too bright or something, and Barney's uncle having to jam it with a stick or something.
Yes. In our regular callback to Dan Harmon things, I just watched the Freaky Friday community episode where they do the light switch tester. And they do that 3 times where they switch the light on and off to give that effect. Yeah. So everything in this so far is basically just showing this kind of moral superiority of them. And they don't do anything particularly mean. They just more or less just arrogantly strut in like the bosses, right? If you think about the greatest potentially bowling movie of all time, The Big Lebowski, Jesus, and those kind of characters that are strutting around.
And I don't know if Lebowski was before this. I think it might have been just after, to be honest. I think this is like 96 maybe, and Big Lebowski is what, like 97, 98?
Well, let me check on the internet, because what I've noticed is a lot of people in these podcasts, they say, I can't check the internet. You totally can. Big Lebowski, 1998.
There you go. And again, Big Lebowski, character name, Maude Lebowski.
Yes, the nihilist. Second greatest bowling movie of all time is
Blackball with Johnny Vegas.
That is a good one. That's Crown Green bowling, isn't it? I'm thinking of the 1996 movie, Bill Murray movie, Kingpin.
Oh, yes.
Is Bill Murray in that one? It's Woody Harrelson and Bill Murray, isn't it? That's 96.
He has to bowl every day, isn't it? He wakes up every day and has to bowl.
That's right. Every day he has to bowl, and then he can only get out of the loop when he bowls a perfect game.
Yes.
Monkey bowls a perfect game. That is 1996, though. Predates.
Yes. So maybe it was just a big bowling, maybe 10-pin bowling around this time was gaining popularity again. It does feel to me like a very 90s thing.
Bowling made a comeback in the 90s for sure, especially in England, with all of those new bowling alleys popping up. Because when I was a kid, I couldn't bowl. Like, there's nowhere to bowl when I was a kid. But like when I was about 18, 19, I think they started opening up again.
Yeah, I remember always having access to a bowling alley from like age 10 onwards.
Exactly.
And that would have been like 2000.
Only 90s kids remember that.
Yes, Cadbury Marble. But yeah, they're not being very competitive, and they're not being very, again, they're all acting like Maude here. They're all very passive, very placid. They just turn up, bowl, and that's what it's about for them. It's not about the maybe that's the key to winning, is that they don't appear to have the desire to win that much. They're just there to bowl.
Transcendent, and they very aloof. Maude's head in this is almost round.
Yeah, it's a strange look for her.
It's a good one. But she, the pointed face Maude is the classic for me. This is going into bongo realms, to be honest.
Yeah, she is quite circular, isn't she?
Clip 3. Burns is clearly struggling with the ball. It's far too heavy for him as Maude watches on. They have a lane each, and Burns lets the ball go very, very slowly. Ned strolls up and bowls a strike. He jumps for joy. And I said, no high fives? It's unusual. But this is a machine. Maude steps up without missing a step and just boom, bowls a huge curveball that just destroys the pins. And there's another strike there. Real fast Helen comes in right behind her. Boom, and then the Reverend boom. 4 strikes in a row, a.k.a. quadruple turkey.
Precisely. She doesn't... My main note about this is that she has very Maude, but she seems to take no joy from this event. She gets up, she bowls, she doesn't celebrate the strike in the way that Ned... I may note that Ned and Reverend Lovejoy both celebrate the strike.
Yes.
And Helen and Maude don't. And I'm thinking, is that because they, again, didn't want to bring Roswell in just to say, yay?
Could be, or it could just be the misogynistic Simpsons writers who felt only the men would be able to celebrate it, and the women should just accept that, yes, they're great, but they don't want to be a show-off. Nobody likes that.
Yes, just sit quietly with your arms folded.
Exactly. But that's not what we say. We say those ladies have a right to celebrate just as much as the men, if not more.
Exactly.
But not more. I just want to state that clearly, but not more.
No, never. Yeah, it is. It's just kind of joyless for her, isn't it?
Well, I thought that, but I think more she's just in that zen zone and they're just business, because after they've done the 4 strikes and Mr. Burns' incredibly slow ball falls into the gutter, the whole Holy Rollers team turn and do a big high five. Maude at that point is goofy and happy. So I think it's more about, don't distract me, I'm getting down to business. And is that a Maude we've seen before?
It doesn't seem so, does it? This is the most focused on a task we've seen her. And again, this is the only time we've seen her in a competition setting herself. We've seen her watching Todd and reacting to that in sort of the correct moments, how, you would react to it. This is the first time we've seen her competing herself. I was just thinking about the statue, the Praiseland statue, where it says, she taught us the shame of joy. So again, maybe that's why she doesn't want to be too excited, because she finds it somewhat shameful. What I did notice, Helen's hair is the wrong colour now. Helen's hair is like ginger. It's the same colour as Maude's when they do the high five. And somebody shouts hallelujah, but it's not Roswell. I can tell it's not Roswell, and she's not credited for this episode, so it must be someone else. And I think it's supposed to be Helen.
Oh no, I've got the Reverend shouting hallelujah when he bowls his strike.
Oh, it's definitely, there's a woman. Reverend Lovejoy says hallelujah, and then one of the 2 women says hallelujah again in response to his hallelujah.
I see.
But I'm pretty confident that it's Helen.
Really? One thing is that we've never seen Maude in true competitive mode. So what would that look like?
I think this is what it looks like. She's focused. She's sort of unfazed in a sort of professional way, in that she knows she has to get up and bowl, sit back down and wait her turn, and she will only celebrate when, she's not overconfident. Just because she's got a strike doesn't mean that she's gonna throw her arms up and imagine they've won. But 4 strikes in a row there's a bit where Ned bowls and misses 1 pin, and Homer just points and laughs at him for a good 30 seconds until, again, I almost included this, but Maude's not in it and we've got a lot to get through. But Ned basically puts in another prayer to God, and God knocks the pin over.
Yeah, come on.
But she's focused, and she's not willing to crumble at this point. At this point as well, I think they pretty much think we've got this. There's only 3 of them who can bowl. One of them's Homer, who they don't have much faith in. Last time they saw Moe, he lost his mind.
They have stormed out of his restaurant recently without paying.
Apu comes into play a bit more in the next couple of weeks for us, actually. But at this point, they don't really know Apu very well, from what we can tell. So I don't think they see this team as a threat until they become a threat towards the end.
I'd like to know more about that, but we'll wait and see if Maude's part of that. So here's the question. The Holy Rollers logo is a bowling ball with a halo over it, which is pretty cool. Now, do we think Maude designed that logo? Do we think Maude made the shirts? Because you said you think she might have a hand in it. Did she actually make them from scratch? Did she just order them from an online bowling catalogue? Or back in those days, a paper bowling catalogue?
I believe that she had some input into the design of them, in that I don't think she physically made them herself, but I can imagine her picking the colouring and the typeface. Yeah, I can see her sketching up a little bowling logo for them and getting it printed on a couple of bags.
Yeah. So you don't think she's the seamstress?
No, I think she's more of the visual design side, and I don't think Helen is interested in anything of that sort. So I imagine, they put in an order in. I don't think Ned and the Reverend are big on seaming either.
Who knows? Clip 4. The ball of Mr. Burns is rolling slowly towards the pins. This is later. Otto, is it this kind of grabber machine? They call them the UFO machines. What? I don't know. What do we call them?
I don't know, actually. The grabber machines with the teddies.
Exactly. You get a good old claw. We get a good old back of the head shot from Maude. And this is where, earlier Helen's hair was off. Lovejoy has a bright red flat top.
Strange, I didn't notice that.
It's just, I floated across it the first time it jumped out at me that someone had just bright red hair, and it's Lovejoy. He just has this huge bright red flat top from the back. Anyway, Maude is engaged in watching the bowling in front of her, while Otto is trying to grab the generic toys in the grabber, but he has grabbed the one screw that is this giant screw that is holding the machine together, almost as if it was designed for this very purpose. The ball is ready to go into the gutter, but it just manages to tap one of the pins on its way in, and we see the pins wobbling. We see the Rollers team and Homer's team with their jaws wide open. Maude's eyes are wide. She's looking in shock. She can't believe what's happening. Moe's teeth are gritted. Otto somehow puts his strength into the arm of the machine and pulls out the entire screw. I didn't know you could actually add strength to the machine just through sheer willpower, but Otto manages it, so good work. The machine falls apart, and the subsequent shudder, actually knocks over 2 pins. Homer's team jumps for joy. Burns says, "Excellent." Cut to a shocked, dismayed Rollers. Maude's jaw is still open and looking distraught. Otto says yes and grabs a little red toy lobster off the floor.
Good scene. Reanalysis. This is where everything's falling apart for a little bit. There's a couple of things that don't make sense at all. In that, the first thing to me that jumps out as not making sense is that they are only 2 points behind the Holy Rollers from winning, which to me must imply that Mr. Burns hasn't been doing that badly, or that something went badly for the Holy Rollers team at some point in this game, because somehow they're only 2 points behind despite having Mr. Burns on the team. So that struck me as a bit strange. The Otto thing, Otto was on the team at some point earlier on and got swapped out for Burns, and then basically just started focusing on wanting that lobster harmonica. And he's just sort of in the background occasionally for the episode trying to win this lobster. But what I do like is that Otto, obviously, they found a way to bring Otto, because he was a part of the team initially. They brought in a way for Otto to help them win, which was quite nice.
Yeah.
Like, it is down to the original team that the reason that they beat the Holy Rollers. But again, Maude doesn't kick off. She doesn't cause a fuss. She doesn't notably sulk. They take the loss pretty well, considering it's a farce.
Something's gone wrong in the middle of the game if it's coming down to Burns only needing 2 points to win. But, Maude, after her initial shock, how does she take it?
We don't know, but that's the last we see of her. And the rest of the scene takes place in the bowling alley, so that implies that nothing chaotic happens. They don't, lose their shit and start throwing things around and kicking off with people. So that's quite nice. They just probably, again, very Maude. She would have just taken it in a stride and they would have just gone home and she would have prepared cucumbers with cottage cheese.
So she would have do you think she would have just dismissed it? Oh, it's just a fun game. Or do you think she would have been hurting and raging inside and really wanting to win, but able to control herself?
No, again, I don't think she's that bothered. I think, again, she's very much, this is God's plan. So, we obviously weren't supposed to win because God didn't plan it that way.
Dentistry?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But this is the only time we've seen her displaying a hobby. I think that's worth bringing up.
Yes, it's a straight-up hobby. And how much do you think she bought into it, and how much was she initially just a friend or a helpful team member? Because she's very good. We only see her bowl once, though. So, but they don't seem surprised by the fact that they get 4 strikes in a row. So let's assume that that's pretty common occurrence.
Yeah, she doesn't respond to it. I don't think it was her idea, but I don't think it was like, we have to go and do this again. I imagine she quite enjoyed it, but she wouldn't have suggested it herself. I don't know who out of the 4 of them would have suggested it. Possibly Lovejoy, if there isn't any financial prize, you just win a trophy. And as we know, the commandments and that, they can't hold this trophy in too high of a regard, because then it's a false idol. So again, I think they're just in it for maybe at the barbecue a few weeks ago, they were talking about, maybe getting out a bit more and doing some stuff. And this is the culmination of that. But actually, no, that can't be right, because Apu says something about them winning this trophy like the last 5 years in a row.
Exactly, and it does. Had that been the case, what would have been the chances if they'd all bowl and said, "Oh, actually, yes, I'm incredibly good." Oh, me too. It looks like maybe they put in the hours, and so that brings me to the question of how often do they play, how do they train, and where are the boys?
I was thinking where Rod and Todd. I'd like to say that they meet up at least once a week for this. I imagine probably more so, because none of them have a lot going on, really. Like, from what we can tell, Maude and Helen don't have their own full-time jobs. Helen and Reverend Lovejoy's daughter isn't even there anymore. She's been sent away. Lovejoy runs the church, which again, from the looks of things, he only does on a Sunday. And Flanders has the store, which is his store, so he could take the time off to go bowling twice a week. So yeah, maybe twice a week. Rod and Todd, I don't know. Maybe they're with Grandma Flanders.
Do you not think they'd be with Ruth Powers?
That is also possible because, I don't think they'd take them to Homer and Marge after the whole baptism incident out of fear that Homer and Marge would do something in retaliation with Rod and Todd, like cut off Rod's arm.
A reverse baptism.
Yes. Unbaptized.
Your child is no longer welcome at the pearly gates, and you'll never find out until it's too late.
Precisely.
Sprinkle them with boiled holy water.
Yes.
Get the holiness out. Last clip. This is a whole different show, but you said this was a bit of a teaser for Two Bad Neighbours. Homer's in the front yard. He's dancing on a table wearing an umbrella hat and a full dinner suit with tails. He kicks a toaster out into the crowd. We see Wiggum, Ralph, Nelson, the Van Houtens, Ned, Maude there. And he shouts, "Hey, big spender, dig this blender." And he kicks a blender into the crowd and the drunk guy catches it. Amazingly, no damage to his foot or to the blender. Catches it and Lenny's looking on, Maude is looking on. Maude is smiling. I think she's thinking, that's a good prize.
Possibly, yeah.
Practical prize.
We've encountered this yard sale before, as you know.
I do.
With the Stewcast. And interestingly, I didn't think Maude was in this scene for a while. Like, I've watched this recently and didn't spot her. And then I saw a meme. I remember me sending saying, it seems like somebody's put Maude into this because she's not in it. And then I watched it, and everybody else in this scene appears 2 or 3 times. But this split second is the only time that Maude appears. I agree. I think she thinks that the blender is she's probably just this is her kind of fun. It's like safe. She's in the same neighborhood. She's talking to people that she knows, but there's something a bit different and exciting going on. And she can look if she is like Helen as well, which we're not saying she is, but would be a good way to snoop on the neighbors and the kind of things that the neighbors own.
Yeah, is she judging the toaster? Is she judging the blender? Is she judging the fact that Homer's dancing on a table with an umbrella hat? Why is he doing that?
Ned had a microphone and was trying to attract people to certain tables, and Homer just took over and did a better job. This scene does end with everybody walks off and sees the limo pulling up to the presidential house across the road with the new neighbours, the Bushes, and everybody runs over and there's a crowd that you don't see Maude in, like welcoming them. But Homer carries on dancing, and Chief Wiggum keeps playing the electric, guitar, and then Disco Stew just comes and stands next to him and just dances for like 30 seconds.
Nice. Maybe that'll be in the Stewcast too.
Maybe. One last thing to say, again, a little end of season teaser, is that we will be coming back to the bowling episode for the next cast.
Interesting. And that's coming soon, right? What is this? This is episode 28.
This is episode 7 of season 3.
Yeah.
And the cast will be episode 12.
Right on.
4 more mods.
Few more mods. All right, let's move on. Should we do a mod art today? We're running a bit long, but I think we'll be okay. We've not done mod art for a little bit. Just got one picture for you today. I'm going to share my screen. Now, when you get into the darkest regions of the internet, of course, there's some saucy, naughty modness going on, but I think this one just skirts the line of decency. So we've got a fake magazine cover that says Playtoon, and I think I saw a whole series of these drawn by different artists, and they're all Simpsons characters. Maude is dressed she's very busty in this one. She's got a very short tartan skirt, taking a bite out of an apple, and she's looking sideways seductively. The drawing is somewhat simplistic, shall we say, and around Playtoon, which is obviously a Playboy parody, she's looking saucy, but she's fully clothed. We've got tasteful. On the borderline tasteful, our most tempting issue, and here are some of the phrases, some of the taglines splattered around the cover. For the true tune lover, July 2008, Maude Flanders alive and living it up. Her new life, not okily dokily with Ned. Flandereses secrets told by HS. DNA results, Todd and Rod's father is Moe Sislak. Now, not holding back, is it, this magazine cover?
No, this is great. I like all of the drawing itself is very duck-faced. It would fit in well. It's only a a smidge away from the bongo. The eyeshadow is the wrong colour, but I think that is to match possibly the blazer. We've never really seen her display an interest in apples before. Her new life, not Oakley Dokley with Ned, is the most confusing to me. I don't know what that means, because she doesn't have a new life with Ned. This is obviously in some dimension that isn't The Simpsons, in where she's come back to real life and decided to go down the whore route as opposed to the non-whore route.
This suggests that she is back to life. She's left Ned, and she's at least, well, this retcons and says that Rod and Todd's father is more Sizzlack. And I think if this was the post-apocalyptic Darkest timeline, that would make a lot of sense as a season 5 or 6 revelation.
I like it. I think it's a good idea. It doesn't work visually because they both just look a bit like Ned and Maude. Like, Moe is distinctly ugly enough, or like the design of him is unique enough that something would have been passed along there. And if not, they would have ended up just looking like Maude. But so I don't believe it, but it'd be fun to live in that kind of Coronation Street storyline world where that happened.
You know what we could well see from your pen is a version of Rod and Todd if they were fathered by Sizzlack. Rod and Todd Sizzlack Goodman.
Something that will be happening, no doubt, for the end of this podcast. I've only just worked out what HS stands for.
Is it Homer Simpson by any chance?
I think so, yeah.
Flandereses gives it away.
Flandereses is a great word.
So all in all, I think not only is the drawing, it's just on the right side of tasteful because, you know, I don't know if we'd ever want to do a XXX rated Maudecast. I don't think we want to go that way with our listeners, but should you want to see Maude Flanders in all kinds of compromising positions, the internet has a treasure trove for you, especially after her Treehouse of Horror, where she was revealed to be Saucy Satan's wife. I think that set off a lot of people. And lots and lots of things of her having a relationship with Marge in various states of dress and undress. But that's not something...
and Edna.
And Edna. And that's not something we as decent Maudecasters really go into. But, you know, I'm sure out there in the dark web, there's a XXX Maudecast for you. That playtoon was drawn, I think, did I get it off DeviantArt? It said Napoleon the 16th, but I'm not sure if that's just the person that put it up there or whether they drew it. But if it is Napoleon 16th, good job. How many Maudes out of 10 are you giving it?
8.
8.3 Maudes out of 10. Excellent. Shall we move on?
Yeah.
I think we've got just enough time for Maude's diary. Do we have one?
Yeah.
Hello, diary. It's Maude. Today, me and Ned went to Springfield Elementary to watch a talent show that all the kids were in. And there was a kid balancing on some chairs and stuff, and Lisa Simpson was there and she performed a horrendous saxophone. I couldn't remember what instrument she played for a moment because she isn't my kid, but it was really subpar, her performance, and I think it was Homer's fault. Somehow, Rod and Todd were great in the show, but I can't actually remember what they did. But the 3 judges, who were the school lunch lady, the school groundskeeper, and jazz musician Bleeding Gums Murphy, they all gave Rod and Todd pretty good scores, so we were happy, and we had a bit of a chat afterwards with William and Doris and Mr. Gums Murphy, and they said, keep up the good work. And then Bleeding Gums Murphy gave me a signed copy of his album Sax on the Beach, but it's too controversial, so we threw it in the bin on the way out. Tonight I'm going to go for a walk with Ruth and Laura Powers and tell them all about the talent show. And also, I think Helen has some kind of addiction to online shopping, even though it doesn't exist yet. So we're going to go and give her an intervention as well, because she's just worried my patience then, if I'm being honest. Had enough of her rubbish. Alright, bye, diary.
So what can only be called a brutal examination of her friends and foes' characters. Destroyed Lisa Simpson's sax playing. Destroyed the needy Helen, online gambling addict Lovejoy. Decimated the too sexy for my Maude Bleeding Gums Murphy LP. To be honest, the only thing she seems to look forward to is hanging out with Ruth Powers and chatting. Hopefully Ruth will say, come on Maude, it ain't all that bad. Let's give Mr. Gums Murphy's album them a listen and see how it pans out. And she'll pull it out the bin and wipe it off and give it a listen. I don't think Maude's going to like it. But anyway, come on, Maude. It ain't all that bad. Kiss, kiss.
Anything else you want to say to these good people before we move on to the song?
No, that's good. I like that it says our most tempting issue. That's the sort of religious theme for that picture. So it still harks back to who Maude is. This isn't just pure smut.
Well, that's the Apple reference also, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Which I've only just got.
The woman who ruined everything for everyone back in the day by eating that apple.
Kudos. Kudos to you, Napoleon XVI. You're not King of France for nothing.
Yes.
Alrighty. So who's going first?
You.
The Holy Rollers have won it 5 years in a row.
Excellent.
Goofy duck face and round ball head.
Lobster harmonica.
High and mighty, 'cause they never got caught with their pants.
Good posture.
Maude and Helen's great posture.
Ned balls.
4 monks in full brown habits.
Huge crew beyond the ball.
Carrying holy roller bags.
Brun's buckle finally goes into the gutter.
You see, you are reading my notes and quoting them directly with the typos and everything.
It tapes a pin on its way in.
Holy rollers bowling ball with a halo all over it.
The machine falls apart. Yes, exactly. The end.
The pins, they wobble. 2 pins, subsequently 2 pins.
Wygum, Ralph Nilsson, the Van Houtens.
Tar lobster, a red lobster, harmonica.
She cons, that's a good prize.
She cons, that's a good prize.
Yes. The end. Helen Redskirt, good job.
I can tell you can F off. Son of Sonny Bono stopping the Syrians and the North Koreans from enjoying episode 24. You will burn in hell for that. The axis of evil. You don't think we can save them with our propaganda, with our 90s propaganda?
So if you're in Iran, you can stop listening now. For everywhere else, stay tuned for the ending song.
Ching 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 ching. Only you.
We'll see you next week when Maude meets a president.
Bye.
Bye.